discuss it. That is, of course, well, how can you say it? The fallout from the ARD and New York Times expose on a very, very strange moment for Chinese swimmers at the last Olympics in Tokyo, where basically, I think 23 of them had apparently failed doping tests or had been found with stuff in their system and so on. And of course, swimming, no one is ever surprised of it. From Mr. Peaty from the UK, all the way, like all these guys who were just flying through the pool, all the Americans, when they come out and start screaming about, for example, a swimmer who she had to have doped, Michelle Smith de Bruin from Ireland, she was still slower than most of the Americans, most of the foreigners who, just basically were out of form. She beat them and they cried foul. There's one thing just to start it off, how they are basically, how do you say, this is first. There was a press conference today from WADA, and I'm going to just show you just some of the things that have gone on around this, because it is an absolute how do you say, it's an absolute mess, this whole situation, and we'll discuss in just a moment. So this is basically today, the whole thing broke out when this came out. So this is related to the statement. So ARD documentary, it's a German company documentary. Of course, it was organized by Haya Salpelt. He's the German, a very, very good journalist, he basically walked away from German sports when we saw doping going on and doping in general in swimming. But he himself has dodged coming on with us a number of times. He's been invited onto Capital Sports because we wanted to ask him straight questions. He's been cut out by some grifters and some really dodgy people as well. But this is the whole situation here about the Chinese swimming. They had the press conference today, didn't really answer that many questions, but there were lots of questions about it. Basically, that they had been found with this same drug that a certain Russian figure skater, had been found with as well. This is one that you really don't want to take. It's one that you don't really need. It's not healthy. It's not good, but it was found. They said it came in through the vents at the hotel, but then the swimmers are staying at different hotels. It's a whole mess. WADA knew about this, didn't bring it up. But this is the whole thing, that the agency had no basis, under the WADA code, the World Anti-Doping Code, to challenge USADA, that's the Chinese anti-doping, that it was environmental contamination. Okay, so that was also accepted by World Aquatics. That's, of course, the governing body of all, I'll say, water sports in a dodgy sense, and a bit of smile as well. So this is all over. That this is found in the samples, but they said that there was a reason they couldn't challenge it, and so on and so forth. So this is a genuine, real excuse. It's a crap excuse, but it's an excuse all the same. Now, when we go on to that, the Chinese, when it all came out, the Chinese, of course, reacted saying this is fake news, this is against China. And of course, they would say that, wouldn't they? They would say that, because the Russians said the same thing, even though there was evidence of doping in Russia. There has always been evidence of doping in Russia. There will always be evidence of doping in Russia, because that's what elite athletes do. They dope. I'm sorry, that's just a matter of fact. Now, this is what China came back with, Xinhua, their state media, and it's something that, said it's misleading. Okay, so the swim report is misleading. So they had come out with win clean medals, clean sport. Now, for many, many years, we've known that Chinese athletes do dope. It's been clear as day that they do it. But they're saying that this has been, media bias. It's also geopolitical. It's a push against China. And they've also said that USADA said they've noticed several foreign media organizations published and circulated misleading reports about Chinese swimmers testing positive ahead of Tokyo Games. That they conducted doping tests at a national event in June 2021 and found swimmers testing positive for extremely low concentration of this TMZ. TMZ, of course, that's not the entertainment channel. So they were found this in their system, said, oh, well, it came in from this. So even small, low levels of it, how to get into the system, this is the whole question about it. They said they carried out investigation, the accommodation, use of medicine, supplements, as well as doping test procedures. Combined that, they said that they had tested positive after being inadvertently exposed to the substance through contamination. We've heard this before as well. Contamination. It was in my shake. It was in my bloody kebab. It was like the girl I was kissing had snorted cocaine. All my mum's cancer medicine had fallen onto the table where we were making pasta. All this nonsense. So FINA, that's of course now the World Aquatics, and while they were informed. And again, this is very much when we know who is bringing this up. Again, a former guest of our show, Tariq Panji, who's very, very good. He was involved in the investigation as well, reporting on it. but this is ARD. ARD, the people who are behind it are all working with German intelligence, they get fed by German intelligence, and that's fine. But there's a bit too much of a, let's just say, geopolitical bias on this one, for sure. Andrew, before we have a look at two more pieces from people who really should know better, they were found within their system. So already USADA, the US anti-doping, they're the ones who kicked up holy war about it. They brought it all to light ahead of the publication of the article and the broadcast of the show. So this is USADA, Travis Tiger, the man who never saw a brown envelope that he didn't turn up his nose at. This is embarrassing for China, embarrassing for America, embarrassing for sports. If you were ahead of, the Olympics, would you immediately just strip the medals, or would you wait?
I think it's an impossible thing to take such drastic action, because then you've set a precedent. And on the other hand, you should argue, well, sort of morally, perhaps you ought to just say it doesn't. You know what? I've had enough of level of responsibility. Anybody caught with any trace, zero tolerance effect might be the most, I don't know, the simplest way in theory. But you simply can't do that now, because then you'll have endless cases saying, well, hang on a minute, you've blanket banned them. How about that medal I should have won because of, it'll be a mess. It'll be a complete mess. Basically, I think they're in an impossible situation. I mean, look, it does not matter how much guilt or innocence there is on the part of the athletes, Chinese athletics on a slightly wider scale or not. Whoever it is who is brought to light, they know if you just shout loud enough, there's a chance you may cast enough doubt on it. You may just about be able to win a case just by shouting louder, even if they, let's be honest, nobody's trying to pretend, no matter what your political bias is, whatever your sympathies are, nobody's trying to pretend that they haven't had some more knowledge than they're claiming, whether it's the coaches, whether it's the athletics organisers who organise the accommodation, the athletes themselves. Somebody knows a lot more than they're admitting. Nobody's pretending otherwise. But then, sort of, if you do this to them, then you've got to backdate it to everybody else. You've set a precedent. It's a legal case now.
Exactly. Yes. Look, as a question, where do you reckon China, with again, a country with a population of over 1 billion people, and with a good track record in swimming as well, because again, it's one of those sports where if you dope the right way, you can win, because it's all about strength and stamina. Where did they finish in the medal table, do you reckon?
I can't see them finishing above the United States. They just simply traditionally are. I'd say second or third is about my best guess, simply because that's where they're always going to finish if they don't win. So second.
Well, this is the fun thing, okay? This is the one thing that you're going to like this, okay? Because you've actually led us into it. So here is where China finished. Fourth. They finished behind USA, Australia. Of course, Australia never dope. I mean, we've discussed how Robin Barsotto, who opened the can of worms about how doping was very prevalent in Australia. Great Britain. And then China, and of course ROC, and Japan, Canada, Hungary. Okay, all the good countries. Germany, of course, a very good history, and Italy as well, very good history. They're finishing well down. South Africa, so France, always a good history. We had a very bad one. Sweden, very good history, very bad Olympics for them. But the top of the table, USA on Australia, Great Britain, and China. That's what I always figure. Where is this riddle, Andrew, where all these countries, Russia finishing in the top couple, doping the heads off, but all these other countries who are finishing top of the table, they're so clean, they don't dope, nothing like that. And Andrew, it's surprising me. And Andrew, one thing that this is now when you know that the shark has well and truly been jumped well across, when you get people who basically pick and choose their battles and are very much, again, fed into by, and this isn't some conspiracy, they are actually fed directly by intelligence services who basically gather information on different sports. Russia does the same. Does anyone think fancy bears are not related to, some agency somewhere. No, they weren't. They all are. It's just how they play it. It's how they do it. Information is money. Information is glory. Information is power. This is Christine Brennan, who, again, as I said, should know better, but she puts this out that they were betrayed by the system. Chinese swimmers, positive test, raised questions before the games. Now, of course, straight away on USA Today, you have LeBron James, of course, another man who has lots of questions hanging over him for what he took and didn't take. And this is going on about, like, how many medals America's Katie Ledecky or Frances Leon Marchand will win in Paris. Katie Ledecky, again, someone who is has been very, very successful, has done very, very well. And again, because she's American, no questions asked whatsoever.